Welcome into another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside the great Mike Cameron. Mike, free agency is in full swing. Qualifying offers have been accepted and declined. The non-tender deadline has passed. It's starting to get busy in Major League Baseball. I have to ask, as a player, when you were a free agent, did you like this time? Did it make you nervous? What's this moment like as a player?
Um, if you're one of the best players, it's really fun. uh, but if you're very serviceable and I mean just throughout, it's a very trying time as a player because
Yeah.
look, man, you're trying to find a new home. I was never good at wanting to. Well, first and foremost, most guys that have these ginormous opportunities kind of wait till the last minute
Yeah.
to do it. So I never was a player that liked to be hanging out. I did my research on teams that I could possibly fit on. Um, I talked to people, and I was going to make my decision based on those parameters and maybe a few other things that could possibly, a city or whatever it is. I was very fortunate to be able to play for a very long time, and I got a chance to choose two places that I wanted to play in, and a lot of those things go into it. And a lot of guys don't really get those opportunities. You have to look at and view it from the perspective of how it benefits you and where it serves you best. When I left Seattle, um, I had the opportunity to play in San Diego when it first opened,
Yep.
also Oakland. Um, and I wanted to stay in Seattle, and they were under a new regime as far as like general manager and
Yeah.
everything else. And so if I couldn't stay in the Northwest, then I was going to come back close to East, which
Yep.
I did go to New York Mets, and it was an opportunity for me. I mean, it was more about based on, you know, not the dollar amount, but the fact that I got a chance. My grandmother to see me play every day. It
Yeah.
wasn't at 10 o'clock at night when she got a chance to see me.
Yeah.
But she got a chance. I knew playing in New York, I was going to get a chance to go back to Atlanta at least three times.
Yeah.
And then it's just the opportunity of you know. Um, going to New York, man, and just
Yeah.
seeing what it's all about. I had the opportunity to stay out west, but felt like it was an opportunity for me to be able to come back home,
Yeah.
close to home, but also experience that. Although the team wasn't that good, I mean, it wasn't. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, my second year that was good, but it was under unforeseen circumstances that I got hurt a little bit, and then I
Yeah.
ended up
No,
leaving. But
again,
I
it's
mean,
all
it is what it is.
again, all different
Go ahead.
circumstances. Every player is going to have different things they prioritize, and we will see what the Padres
Yeah,
end up doing in free agency. As we've discussed, there's going to be limited payroll room given they were at $211 million last year. They're currently projected at $201 million. With the uncertainty about ownership, generally speaking, this is when we see teams try to reduce expenditures, not increase them. We have talked a lot about the players the Padres need to add this offseason and should add, both in terms of the lineup and on the pitching staff. But in order for the Padres to be the best version of themselves, there also has to be internal improvements. And the biggest
yeah,
name involved there is Manny Machado. As we've
yeah,
discussed many, 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 many times, Manny Machado is a bit of a lightning rod. Speaking
yeah.
strictly in terms of on the field production, look, he remains a Hall of Fame caliber player who is capable of carrying his team through big chunks of the season. At the same time, he's getting older. He's 33. He will turn 34 in July. He's posted three straight sub 800 OPS seasons. His home run total has declined each of the last 3 years. Father Time is undefeated, and we are starting to see a little bit of that age related decline. At the same time, he's someone who loves to play every day, but we have started to see he's not able to really stay strong through a full 162 game season. Mike, you lived this. You were a star player, wanted to be out there every day, but rest recovery changes as you get older. A lot of things change. How do you think the Padres can get the best version of Manny Machado in 2026? Is it having him play only 145 games? Is it having him play 155? Like, what's the best way for them to manage his workload so that he can stay strong through the full season when he's going to be 34 years old?
Um, me just I've been as you brought this about, I started looking at some of the things that Manny going on in his career, and
Yeah,
look, the guy has finished, 5 out of the last 7 years. He's played 150 games.
yeah,
He's on the dirt. The 2 years that he didn't play, he played 138 and 23, and he plays obviously 60 in that 2020 campaign.
right.
So the one thing that I look at from him, is where has his injury deficiencies been for him? Like what has bothered Manny? It's been a knee, and I think it's been a back, maybe, or something like that, maybe a shoulder at one point. But so we're gonna have to. Craig Stammen's gonna have to step in and take the bullish Manny aside and say, "Hey, man, the best version of you for our team
Yeah,
moving forward, I'm going to have to DH you 15 to 20 games.
yeah,
I need to DH you and take you off your feet a little bit. Uh, and then within those games, it just matters to where
yeah,
Manny's going to have to be honest, and most baseball players are not honest when they're bullish about
yeah,
going to the post on a daily basis, and
yeah,
that's what he's known for.
yeah,
But in order to get the best version of him, we need to take him off his legs a little
yeah.
bit and give him the opportunity to be as productive as he can for this team.
And that's actually an interesting point. So last year, Manny Machado played 145 games at third base and 14 games at DH. And we'll get into what happened at the end of the season in a second. But does just DHing actually do what it needs to do in terms of helping a player, particularly someone in their 30s, get the full rest and recovery and reset they need? Because yes, you're off your feet. At the same time, 4 or 5 at bats a game, you're on the base pass, you're battling competitive ABs. Does it really provide that much of a rest for guys, especially at this age, or do they really need to be off?
Um, I think there's a balance of both, Kyle.
Yeah,
In the case of Manny, it's going to be hard to just keep him on the bench. You know what I'm saying? Because this is one of your players. What you're going to have to do is pick your spots
yeah,
more so towards the the All-Star break, middle of the season,
yeah,
after the All-Star break, when you get into those dog days, that's
yeah,
when it's more important
yeah,
for a guy to actually still be involved with your team and your lineup
yeah,
by putting him in the DH role, just to give his lower back some rest, some of the knee issues that he had, the strength, your
yeah,
strength in the second half of the season, especially for a guy of Manny's caliber, is very important
yeah,
to, once again, the lineup and his team. So there's a happy balance with that situation. And then sometimes you just gonna have like day after night, you just gotta give him off. Like,
yeah,
hey man, we need you. Like we need
yeah,
just get off. Get
yeah,
off your feet. We're not gonna bother you unless there's a acute emergency going on right then and there on the team.
yeah,
So, that's going to have to come into play. I understand that because look, no, I know Manny plays third, and he's done this over a period of time.
yeah,
I play center well into my late 30s, and
yeah,
it's important. I
yeah,
didn't. You don't understand that because you're programmed to
yeah,
go, 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 and
yeah,
battle through everything and just
yeah,
post. But productivity wise, it's sometimes beneficial for you to just have those mental days or just body days, man. And we have to understand that at this particular point in his career, knowing that, man, this guy's been 150 plus game guy for about 12 years now.
yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard on the body, bro.
Absolutely. We have a lot more to discuss here about this, including some details I'm going to get into about his history and where the clubhouse portion of this comes into play. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors. We'll dive right in.
Kratz, we picked you to talk about MeUndies, not just because they're ridiculously comfortable, but also because they are very festive. When the holiday season hits, you go on the website, and there are just so many more designs to check out. And they just scream Eric Kratz getting little matching sets with everybody that he knows.
You know what? They're called me undies, not you undies. So you go in and you say, this one's for me. This set is for me. This is what is good for me. Not you undies, me undies. A lot of different ones to choose from.
I'm so confused, but what I do know is that you can knock out all of your holiday gifting needs today with MeUndies, and to get the exclusive holiday deals up to 50% off, MeUndies.com/foul. Enter promo code FOUL. That's MeUndies.com/FOUL. Promo code is FOUL for up to 50% off. Matching holiday prints with your person? You can't beat that.
Welcome back to Friar Territory. Kyle Glaser alongside Mike Cameron. Before we keep going, I want to remind everyone, now is a great time to subscribe, like, leave us a review, all the good stuff. Helps us out big time. And here, as we hit the holidays, we have some great deals going at friarterritoryshop.com. We've got Black Friday sales, we've got gift cards, lots of good stuff. Make sure and check it all out. Mike, continuing on with Manny Machado, you're right. Giving him some DH days, that's certainly something the Padres need to do and have done. The concern is what we saw last year. Again, he turned 33 during the year, and he's going to turn 34 next year. The Padres did that. Played 145 games at third, 14 games DH, but they kept running him out there. And even with those DH breaks, we saw him have 120 games where he was excellent, carrying the team, doing everything he could offensively. And then he completely and utterly ran out of gas. There was about a 6-week stretch there where, objectively, he was one of the worst hitters in baseball. He hit a .176 with a sub 600 OPS. And it was a case study in what hitters look like when they are gassed. It's an all upper body swing. He had nothing in his legs. His bat path was trailing behind him. He was late on 93-mile-an-hour fastballs. When he got hanging breaking balls and was on time, they were shallow fly balls to left field. I mean, he had nothing. He had zero left in the tank. And they kept running him out there again and again and again, to the point it hurt the team. And we were in the clubhouse asking, hey, when are you going to do this? I was like, well, it's too late. We're chasing the Dodgers. I'm sorry. Every game they were running him out there, they were hurting their chances of catching the Dodgers. And they never seemed to comprehend that. Whether it was Manny himself or the coaching staff, no one stepped up and did what they needed to do and say, no, you need to take a day, again, day game after a night game. Then we have a day off. Give him that 48 hours. And what do you know? When they finally gave him a day off there toward the end of mid-September, he came back a lot better. So I think for the Padres, what you have to do this year is go in saying, hey, we are going to build in off days throughout the year. Look, it's a 27.5-week season. If he just takes one game off every 2 weeks, he still plays 150 games. No one would look askance at Manny for playing 150 games at age 34 like, oh, you didn't post. And the Padres will be better for it. So I think, at least from my perspective, you have to build this in at the start of the season and say, hey, every 2 weeks we're giving you a day. This is what we're doing, and you need to get on board with it, because he needs to have the awareness that at his age, trying to play 162 is not what's best for him, and it's not what's best for the team. I mean, do you think that's the right approach? One day off every 2 weeks? Do you kind of evenly distribute it? Do you backload it more to the second half? What's the best way to handle this in your mind? Because again, I'm sorry, playing 162 at age 34, you're just not going to get the best version of Manny. You're just not.
Yeah. So one of my biggest things is understanding the type of injuries that he's had that kept him out a lot of times,
But
and
this
it's
wasn't
been a
injuries last
knee.
year. This was pure
Yeah,
fatigue.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. So that fatigue is there partly due because of father time and maybe some of the things he's already gone through that he's had to continue to rehab to make sure he stays on the field. I agree with you in a sense that, you can build some days in to where it turns into 2 days off for guys.
Yeah.
There's going to be some day games after night games where it's hot in a city. You need to sit a guy down, and it's for the benefit of the team. And so Manny needs to understand that he can't be stubborn. The one thing he can look at from looking back on the season, although he had a really good season, minus those 4 or 5 weeks that you're talking about right now, he ended up having a really good season for the team. So I see this as an opportunity for him to say, okay, that 6 week stretch, man, was rough on me. And why was it rough on me? Why was it so hard on me? And it's probably because of just wear and tear, man. Just like your body is worn. Mentally, the guys that play 14, 15 years that post every day, mentally, they're able to push themselves to do it. But sometimes the body just doesn't show up. And you need the both of them to connect at the same time, and just a day off here and there, um just a day after night game day off, where it kind of gives you a whole day and a half off
Yeah,
because you're going into the next day probably in a night game.
yeah.
So it is crucial at this point that Manny understands that, the management understands that, and Stammen, he's got some big
Yeah.
shoes to step in to say, hey, this is what we went through last year. We don't need to have that happen anymore. We need to have you as full strength and healthy as possible going down the stretch as we continue to try to chase, another outstanding championship season. And you're very important to this particular part of it, and we're going to need you to, kind of take a few days here and there.
And you mentioned a very important point that Manny can't be stubborn. Manny Machado, as we've talked about, has a lot of good traits and a lot of traits that are not great. He is very stubborn in terms of posting. And on the one hand, well, you want that. You want your stars to want to be out there every single day. You want them to be the guy who fights their injury, sets the example. That's great. And you want that to be the baseline. But there also needs to be an awareness of, hey, I cannot perform at a level right now that's going to help the team win. And me being out there actively hurts the team. And I want to go back to 2022 when he suffered a horrendous sprained ankle in Colorado. That was a 3 to 6 week injury. Everyone knew it. You see similar injuries like that all the time in Major League Baseball. He refused to go on the IL. And so for 10 days, the Padres roster was a man short. They had games to play. He was actively
Yeah.
hurting the team by they were a man short on their roster for 10 days. And then he forced his way back. And guess what? For those next 5 weeks after he came back, because he had no stability in that ankle, he hit 194 with a 677 OPS. And then what do you know? At the 6 week mark, which is when that thing heals, he picked it back up and was great again. So again, we've seen him, to the detriment of the team, insist he plays. And that was a case to me where I thought it was actually extraordinarily poor management on the Padres' part, where they need to step in and say, no, you're going on the IL. I know you hate it, but this is what's best for the team. And again, we saw last year, it was clear to anyone, again, scouts, Padres executives, anyone and everyone who's watching, he needed a day. I mean, the fact they didn't give him a day in that first week of September when they had a day game after a night game followed by an East Coast road trip, that was honestly gross mismanagement. But again,
Yeah.
Manny is such a forceful, strong presence, too often they've deferred to him. So my question for you now is, with Craig Stammen, a first-year manager, how do you go about this? Because there's going to be a point where they're going to want to say, you need a day, and he's going to fight back.
Yeah. So now the one way you can go about this is Stammen, he can actually start to introduce this like right now. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Look, there's no pressure right now, and there's nothing going on. I don't know if Manny is planning on participating in the World Baseball Classic. Um, but he can establish this like starting right now with his veteran, and making sure Manny understands that. Look, even if you have to, sometimes you have to get like the agent involved in these particular matters. I mean,
yeah,
in Stammen's case, um, I think he can kind of set his precedents like right now with man and like, hey man, this is what we saw over the 6 weeks. I know you understand that we need for you to be, in a much mature mindset and taking care of yourself. And this is how we're going to try to take care of you. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about this? And then we can start going back and forth with dialogue to try to get this in his best case scenario moving forward in the team. Because there are going to be a couple of times on the field where he's going to be like, hey, you got a day off tomorrow. Man, it may hit 2 homers that night and be like, bro,
yes.
look,
There needs to be
Give you a
flexibility.
fighting chance.
But
Yes, yes. I'm gonna give you a fighting chance because you've earned the right for that.
yeah,
But at the same time, we're still managing you for the pretty much
yeah.
the second half of the season, bro. That's what we need you for. And you can fight me all you want, and but at the end of the day, this is what it is.
And I want to be clear, right? I talk about 2022 where he missed 10 days and had that terrible stretch. Even with that, he was MVP runner up. He had a fantastic season. So imagine if he had not done that, he would have had an even better year. And even last year, right? We talk about this bad stretch. I want to give him credit. He carried this Padres offense that couldn't hit a lick for the first half, or most of the first half, I should say. He carried them on his back. For 120 games, he was a top 5 MVP caliber player. And then the drop off happened. So again, this is about getting the best version of Manny Machado. And I think that, I mean, look, everyone would say, yeah, I would rather have 150 great games of Manny Machado than 120 great games and 40 bad games, but he's out there every day. That's what's going to be best for him. That's going to be what's best for the Padres. And I think that, to me, is going to be the number one thing I'm going to be watching with Craig Stammen in his first year. We've talked about it. Craig Stammen is a tremendous baseball mind. He is a natural leader. He was, as a player, he stepped up as a spokesperson for the team during COVID and time of crisis. And he's also a genuinely just a great man. There are so many things to like about Craig Stammen. But this is the question, is when you have one of these stars that was your peer, that was your teammate. Look, Manny Machado is going to look at Craig Stammen different than he would look at, say, a Joe Girardi
Oh
or a
yeah.
Buck Showalter. He just is.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Can Craig Stammen and the rest of the Padres coaching staff and the rest of the Padres front office, when there's that moment, stand their ground and say, no, you got to sit, and have him respect that? To me, that is going to be the number one thing to watch this season. Because if the answer is
Yeah.
no, and they have a repeat, especially given that right now the Padres are probably going to have less talent this year than they had last year, it's going to hurt the entire team for the whole for the season, what they're going to be at the end of the year. Whereas if they manage him better and say, hey, you're just going to play 150, but you're going to be great for those 150 because you're going to be rested throughout the year, that's what's going to give them a fighting chance. And again, Manny's going to push back against that. I think this is the single biggest test for Craig Stammen and his staff, is that they're able to stand their ground and also do so in a way where they don't lose him. Because we have seen Manny be a great leader at times. We have also seen him check out at times when he's frustrated. That, to me, is going to be the key to the season.
Yeah, yeah, I do think that, Stammen has, like I said, he has a great opportunity to start to intertwine with his very seasoned veteran and understand what Manny. I'm sure Craig has been sitting up in the box a few times, and they've
Yeah.
been on meetings that we understand that, and we understand what Manny is per se, and it's gonna be up to him, like right now, to start introducing that into Manny's mind. Like, you're still gonna get your 150, buddy, but we're trying to reduce the stress level on your body so you can give us your best in those 150, which we know out of that 150, probably 25, 30, 40 of them not going to be good. You know what I'm saying? Like
Everyone goes through slumps, right?
yeah,
Yeah. Like,
exactly. So, we're just trying to manage as much as possible. I don't know what Manny workout routine is. I don't know if he's a big, weight training guy over the course of the season. I understood that, as a player, as I got older and me still having to use my legs a lot, that I needed to work a little bit more during the season in the gym. So it's important to understand those aspects of it, because look, they still have him for what, another 4 or 5 years. I
yeah.
mean, maybe six, something. So it's going to be up to him to take care of himself, and then that's where the 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 maturity from just not being a veteran, but a veteran leader in a sense, to where this guy is on board with what's going on. Because I'm going to be here, as Craig said, I'm going to be here for the next 3 years. I plan on it. And I know you're going to be here for the next 3 years. So, hey, man, let's hash this out. Let's get ourselves in the right frame of mind, and start to, you know,
Yeah.
play and be a little bit smarter on how we're going to take care of our things. So your production remains at the level that Manny Machado would like for it to remain at.
And by the way, it's not 4 or 5 years. Manny has 8 years left on his contract. So
What?
yes, he is signed through his age 41. He'll be 41 at the end of the contract. And when they
Whoa.
re-upped when he opted out and they gave him another 10-year deal. So yes, they are going to have him now through his age 41 season. So establishing this now is going to help this year and in future years, because this is again, Father Time's undefeated. There's going to be a stretch of ups and downs, and as the age really starts to pick up, they're going to have to manage this even more. So we'll see what they do this year, but you're right. Starting the process now of establishing now, here's how we're going to do this. That's what needs to happen. We'll see if the Padres do. All right, Mike, we have a little more to wrap up. We're going to take a quick break, hear another word from our sponsors, and dive in.
If you are still carrying a clunky leather brick that can be mistaken for an old school wallet, may I introduce you to what Eric Kratz is getting himself for the holidays?
I mean, this is the greatest wallet that I've ever seen in my life. Your credit cards fit in here. It's adjustable, lifetime guaranteed. Like this is a must-have for the holidays. Absolute must-have.
Ridge Olive Matte. That is the design that Kratz has right now, and you can get a hold of that. There's over 50 plus colors and styles to choose from over at Ridge. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, MLB, or college team. And for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to ridge.com/foul to get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com/foul for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about Ridge. Tell them Foul Territory sent you.
All right, Mike, to wrap up the show here, the non-tender deadline was last week, and the Padres tendered contracts to most of their arbitration-eligible players that were expected. The big question was what were they going to do with Luis Campusano? We talked about Campusano a lot on the show, how he was raking in AAA. There were opportunities to give him at-bats. The Padres did not do it. The Padres ended up agreeing to a one-year contract with him, so he will be back in 2026. AJ Preller has said they expect to have him be a quote-unquote big part of the team. Where are you at on Luis Campusano and what the right role for him is now with the Padres, given everything we've talked about? You know, the catching, leaving something to be desired. The bat's good, but he needs everyday at-bats. The fact they brought him back, I thought, was interesting. Where are you on just him and his place on this team right now?
Well, Kyle, I think it's one of these situations where they need catching. They need help in the catching department.
Yes.
And Campusano presents an opportunity for them to actually, um, he swings the bat pretty good for a right-handed guy. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? So yeah, he has that power potential. But in this case, like you're probably going to need someone with the balance of both, where you can actually have a receiver that can help out the pitchers.
Yeah.
In that case, and Campusano gives them, some opportunity for some insurance, but also potential. You know what I'm saying? Like there's potential there. There's a reason why the team brought him back, considering the market is kind of like really low from the catching perspective. So and they're familiar with Campusano, so it is definitely can be a plus in that category. But we'll just have to find out, what roster decisions the team will make as far as maybe bringing in a real starting catcher. We don't know what the team may do in this position.
Yeah, at this point, Freddie Fermin's a starting catcher. So just to kind of go over all their decisions in terms of who they tendered contracts to and the non-tenders as well. They tendered contracts to their 6 arbitration-eligible players: Jason Adam, Mason Miller, Adrian Morhone, J.P. Sears, Freddie Fermin, and Gavin Sheets. Again, there's no question with those. They non-tendered Omar Cruz and Sean Reynolds, 2 depth pieces who are relievers that have some value, but again, they're depth pieces. And of course, agreeing to that one-year contract with Campusano. Where this is interesting to me is we have talked about the Padres need to upgrade their offense, but they at least have the bodies to fill out, a starting nine. They have limited funds and they need minimum 2 starting pitchers and realistically 3. So I thought this was interesting in the sense of you bring him back and you can go to bat with Gavin Sheets at first, Jake Cronenworth at second, Xander Bogaerts at short, Machado at third, Laureano, Merrill, Tatis across the outfield, and Campusano as your DH. You can throw that starting lineup out with Fermin as a catcher. Again, will it be a great lineup? No, but it has a chance to be solid with some internal improvements, and then they would need to bring in a backup catcher and improve the bench. And that would allow them to put most of their resources financially into finding starting pitchers. So I saw this a little bit as hey, we understand where our biggest holes are. This is going to just let us potentially plug a hole in the offense when we can go use more of our funds on pitchers. That's how I saw this move. And as I've talked about for a while, Luis Campusano as a DH, he can help a team. I have said for a while, it would not shock me if, we see him hitting 260 with 20 to 25 bombs somewhere, whether it's in San Diego or elsewhere. Kind of what Gavin Sheets was for the Padres last year as a hitter. Luis Campusano can do that. He has that ability.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a situation where I'll be curious to see if they actually give him everyday at-bats, and if they do, it has to be at DH, because otherwise, bringing him back just doesn't make a lot of sense. You kind of got to let him be free and go somewhere where he'll get a chance. So, that's what I want to see. That's how I took it, is, hey, we're going to try and fill our offensive holes internally as much as we can, because we've got $10 million to play with to match last year's payroll and a lot of starting pitching holes to fill. We got to use it for that.
Yeah. If you're looking at it from that perspective, you definitely can do that. I would like, to see the team possibly, just go over a little bit out of their range to bring in the type of players that they need to compete in the West, in itself. Um, I think Arizona may be taking a step back. We obviously know the Dodgers are not taking a step back in the West, and so Colorado is Colorado. Um, but you don't want to stop this run that we're on, and your main guys are getting older, as or they're becoming more seasoned as these seasons go on, and so you need to be able to uphold it,
Yeah.
and that's with the understanding that we're going to still try to win because we have all of this money on payroll right now.
Yeah.
And I do understand from management's position that they're possibly exploring the opportunity of selling the team, but
Yeah.
we still don't just want to just throw this all to the wayside.
Yeah.
We still have a chance to be competitive in this league right now because,
Yeah.
we know we can compete in the West. We've shown that we can compete in the West, and it is now how other teams start to formulate their rosters and
Yeah.
what they do and the expectancies of certain teams. So yes, you would like for those things to take place, but the most important thing is making sure that you have a formidable and reputable team that can compete in this position that the team has been put in right now.
We talk about the non-tenders. The one that caught my eye as a good fit for the Padres, potentially, again, the money has to be right. Jonah Heim. A lot of people were looking at Adolis Garcia as the biggest non-tender from the Rangers' perspective, and understandably, he has been an electrifying player at his best, both at the plate and in right field with that arm. It's ridiculous. But Jonah Heim's a switch-hitting catcher who is a pretty good defender. He's a big guy, but he's actually a pretty good defender. Double-digit home run power every single year. I mean, to me, that's a perfect complement to Freddie Fermin. You go Fermin and Heim behind the plate, Campusano's your DH. That was just one that kind of caught my eye. Again, the money would have to be right. You don't want to spend a lot of money on him. But I think that realistically is going to be the best version of the Padres offense, is using Campusano as a DH and bringing in a backup catcher. That will make the Padres the best team offensively and defensively. And again, he can be your emergency third catcher. He got some time at first base last year on, days where Sheets needs a day off or just the matchup for whatever reason. Again, I think there are ways to get him at bats, but the Padres need to actually do it, giving him consistent at bats as opposed to this 3 at-bats in 3 weeks, then we send you back down. That doesn't do anyone any
Yeah,
good, the team or him.
not
So
at all.
we'll
No.
see how he's managed, but I did think it was interesting they brought him back. Mike, any final thoughts as we wrap up here on this Thanksgiving week edition of Friar Territory?
Not much, man. Just hopefully everyone gets a chance to enjoy
Yeah,
this Thanksgiving festive season.
yeah,
And also, people stay tuned on your hot stoves. There's a lot of questions. I do like the Jonah Heim situation, ex
yeah,
Gold Glover, world champion type of guy. So that
yeah.
is something to look forward to. And hopefully the people can stir up some noise and continue to find out what their hot stove team, in this case, is on Friar territory,
Yeah,
foul territory,
yeah,
and get an opportunity to hopefully bring the best to their team upon the holiday season.
absolutely. Well, Mike, this has been another great episode with you. Thank you for your expertise and insight, as always.
Yes, indeed.
All right, everyone, that'll do it for this edition of Friar Territory. Go ahead and give us a review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We'd love to hear from you. Again, hit that subscribe button. Head over to friarterritoryshop.com. Got some Black Friday deals. We've got gift cards. We've got all sorts of stuff. We've had a great first year. We're continuing to have a great first year into the offseason. And we're going to have a very, very special announcement about some new talent joining the show here. I'm very excited for this coming up. So stay tuned for that here shortly. I believe the official announcement is going to be coming on Foul Territory later today. And keep an eye out for the official release on my end as well. For Mike Cameron, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll be back next week.